The MTG podcast is a virtual space for women and minorities in the tech and creative industries.
Tune in as we explore inspirational,
educational,
and community insights
through different perspectives, expanding the diverse cultures and societies that reflect us.
We're more than a designer.
We're more than our name badge.
We're more than the work we produce. Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast.
We're that tribe.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast. I'm Danielle, and today I am solo amongst my three podcast sisters, Cicely and Priscilla. I'm really excited about this particular episode because we're discussing a very important topic. Today's topic is all about being vigorous and having vigor. And I'm really excited about this topic because it really consists of a couple different things: the tenacity, the will, and the passion to complete something. And so I really love defining what this could look like for different people around the world. No matter where you're listening from this episode of the podcast, I welcome you to this space. It is a safe space for women in tech and women creatives. And I'm really, again, just excited overall about this topic. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest. Okay, today's guest is Stephany Ann. I want you to meet an extraordinary woman, an attorney, recipient of the Governor's Award for Advocacy with survivors of domestic violence, an international best-selling author who triumphed over narcissistic abuse. With 2 marriages to narcissists behind her, she's harnessed the transformative power of emotional freedom technique, EFT, and the power of thought and mindset on her path to healing and personal growth. Her transformation came when she shifted from why me to for me. Hear her incredible story today. Welcome, Stephany Ann.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for having me on your show.
You're so welcome. I'm really excited to talk more about Vigorous, especially when it comes to your personal story. I am actually doing like a little fangirling history, like researching myself, just to kind of get more understanding of how you're able to go from where you were to where you are now. So for a lot of people, we all have our own definitions of vigor or vigorous, and I would love to hear your definition.
Yeah, so, when I was thinking about vigorous and what it means, I came up with like 3 things. And so the first one is vigorous. I'm vigorous. I'm strong, determined, and unwavering in the pursuit of healing, justice, and empowerment for survivors of narcissistic abuse. The second definition I came up was boldly speaking truth and power, challenging societal norms and misconceptions that perpetuate abuse, and advocating for change. I'm vigorous because I am courageously vulnerable, sharing my personal story and the lessons to create a safe space for others to do the same. Vigorous for me is being authentically me.
Ooh, this sounds so good. Being authentically me is vigorous. Like, that's so powerful. I have to know more. Like, when we talk about this word, right? I think it comes off sometimes as very disarming, if you will, or the opposite, which could be kind of jarring for some people when we think about women, especially in these tech and creative spaces. A lot of times we're extra, and that comes with the whole vigor, if you will, persona. What are your thoughts and takeaways on women who come off naturally vigorous?
I think it is a wonderful trait to have. And I've always have been vigorous, but in my old version of me, in my 2 past marriages, I wasn't allowed to be really authentically me. I wasn't allowed to have all that vigor, because when I would do something extra, like you say, whether to me, it's like, everything I do, I give 100%. I don't half-ass anything. And
Right.
so, but when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, if they are not number 1, then they will do everything to make sure you are not number 1. And so, for instance, we have this tradition in my family where we make a baby blanket, and everyone does a square. And so I embroider her. It's my old lady talent. And my ex-husband would always say, why does your square always have to be so much better than everyone else's? Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to do that? And I'm like, I am just putting my best work out. And if I'm going to do something, I want it to do it 100% right. And so I would always get shut down. And I would always, and over time, you start hiding that authentic part of yourself because you want to avoid the arguments, you want to avoid the confrontations or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I will just bury that down. I will be average because it keeps the peace and it's easier.
Oh my goodness, this is so reflective of a story personally with myself. Like I'm a huge fan of science fiction. Hello, I'm a nerd. And it's one of the situations where we hear so many of these amazing transformative stories that happen through sci-fi, especially in the realm of women. And so a great example would be for me was Hippolyta Freeman in the Lovecraft Country series, specifically this mother, right, who made herself small in a lot of areas when she was immensely talented and educated and extremely scientific, but she couldn't explore that because society told her to be small. This is your box. This is the only thing you can be or become. And it wasn't necessarily a specific narcissist that was doing that. It was just more of the narcissism of our culture that tells us, and especially women, that we're only capable of doing 1, 2, and 3. We're not capable of A, B, C, D, and everything else in between. And so, for me, that this character, Hippolyta Freeman, was one of my favorite characters because it reminds me every single day that I don't have to play small. I choose not to play small. I can be more than the things that are around. Hence, our podcast title, More Than Graphics, being more than the things that we create. So I love that you speak of this because I do feel like there's such a need for this amongst our community as minorities in tech and the creative industries. It's really vital for us to be reminded that we're more than the sum of our parts. And being surrounded by that energy is just so electric, and it really kind of forces everybody to do better, right?
Yes, yes. And actually, I'm like getting goosebumps as you're talking because it is powerful and we need to stop um, dimming our power.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's very challenging when you are trying to navigate these challenging toxic relationships where you can't show up as your true authentic self, because if you do, it's going to create a lot of conflict and drama and more chaos, and it's exhausting. And so it's easier just to be average and small, just to survive.
Exactly. Yes. I definitely feel that way when it comes to any type of marginalized groups. We always feel like we need to accommodate to a certain type of shell or cast, if we will, or mold in order to be seen but not completely heard. Right. And I feel like that is such an echo to a lot of the work that you are giving testament to. Is there a time when you literally had to grow up and out of something? And what did that teach you?
So, the biggest thing for me was just I found myself on the floor in my sister's bathroom, just tears streaming down my cheeks, just crying out to God, like, why me? What did I do wrong? Why me? I'm a good person. I was a good wife. I was a good mom. I was all these great things. And yet I still kept attracting these toxic, narcissistic men in my life. And I just was stuck in this pain, and I couldn't see past all this pain for so many years, just really stuck in this victim mindset of why me. And it wasn't until I made that shift of, Stephany, you need to stop being a background player, a background character in the story of your life. I mean, shouldn't we be the star of our life? I mean, that's Vigorous, right? We should be the star of our life. But yet, when you find yourself when you're in these abusive relationships, you're not the star. You're a background character. We shouldn't be a background character in the story of our life. And so it was really like, suddenly you need to let go of this victim story and become the star that you were meant to be. And for me, that big shift came when I chose to let go of the why me and embrace the for me. Okay, stop being a victim, Stephany. Now, what are the lessons? When you're stuck in that victim mindset, you can't see the lessons. And if you can't see the lessons, you don't know what to heal, what to release, what to let go of. and to break these patterns of calling these people into your life. And so, yeah, I had to make that shift and really become and learn how to become the star again, to be the more, the extra, the stuff that I had to hide for so many years.
Wow. I am getting chills now because I absolutely love the fact that I love being this, again, defining your character, right? We talk about that a lot. I'm a huge gamer. I'm a retro gamer. I love everything from Pokemon to Fortnite. I play all the games. We're the family that Fortnites. And I love the fact that we talk about this character, right? The character of ourselves. And a lot of times I use the strategy of gaming throughout this echoing life journey from as an example to my kids. And I think it's so imperative that you speak so highly of defining your character and being okay defining your character. Maybe not knowing what those answers are, but knowing that you're striving to get there anyway. And I think that's such a beautiful part in the overall hero's journey, if you will, discovery of self. And through that discovery of self, also embracing the new things, the things that have yet to come, and the things that will come based upon the steps that you're making right now. And I think that's incredibly transformative for anyone in their journey in the career of tech, anyone in their journey in the careers of the creative realms. A lot of times we don't have the pieces to make the things connect, but we know that we have the girth, the willpower, the passion to put those things in place so that we can get those balls rolling. So I just love where this is going. I love how powerful that is. That is wonderful.
Yes. And, to go along, to add just a little bit more to that, I call it becoming, because, we know what we want to become, but we're not quite there. And so it really is this development of a character, like you're saying, like, who do I want to become? I have this clean slate. I am an actress in my life. What type of person do I want to become? Who are people that I admire and have the character traits that I admire? And how can I live that? I call it the self-image script. And I've done this several times, writing out my self-image. Like, who am I? Now that I don't have these exes telling me who I am and this negative beliefs that I took on, now I've gotten rid of those negative beliefs and I'm creating my own beliefs, my own self-image, my own becoming. And it is very cool because, I don't play Fortnite, but hey, I have boys and my boys love to play it. They keep saying, Mom, play. I'm like, oh, I get so dizzy watching the screen and the characters and stuff. But one of the things that they love, and one of the things that they're always asking for money, is to buy these skins. Yeah. Those are self-images. So what skins do we want to put on? It doesn't mean we're being fake. It doesn't mean that we are copying. It means that we can take on these character traits because every skin has different powers and different things that they can do. So, I do know a little bit about Fortnite, I guess.
Oh, look at you. I love it.
So it's just, so, it's just like us. We can put on all these skins. It doesn't mean we're fake. It doesn't mean we're inauthentic. It doesn't mean that we are trying to copy someone. It means that we have a self-image, and part of my self-image is I'm this badass warrior who's out there fighting, or another part of my self-image is I'm this loving, nurturing mother who does this, and another one is that I'm the vigorous woman that shares and goes very deep and talks about very vulnerable things and heavy topics. And so I can put on all these skins, but I'm still the same core person.
Absolutely. Wow. Y'all. That was everything. I love this. This was oh my gosh. I love it. I think this is so transformative, again, for any minority in tech, for women everywhere. Like, this work is amazing. And this is also some of the deeper heart work that I feel like a lot of us in this space, we struggle with transforming for ourselves. We are happy to do it for other people, but we're not in a space yet where we feel like we are personally putting on the armor for ourselves. And this is also a great conversation segue into kind of what what we have been known to do when it comes to our own individual journeys. So for your journey to becoming an attorney for victims and for yourself, how are you using emotional freedom technique in your practice?
Yeah, so emotional freedom technique, it's a healing modality, a tapping modality, where you tap on the meridian points of the body. And what you're doing is, your body holds trauma. When we create trauma to something, because remember, trauma is our reaction to the things that have happened to us.
Right.
It can be stored in our body. So, it's the anxiety, like all the worry and doubt, fear, anxiety, all these things that we've had to go through, all this dis-ease is stored in our body, and we need to get rid of it. And that's one of the things that makes tapping EFT tapping so powerful, is that it's a way to acknowledge the big, heavy emotions or the big, heavy stuff that is coming up, to acknowledge where you're feeling it in the body. Are you feeling it in your chest? Are you feeling it in your heart? Are you feeling it in your head? In your solar plexus, where are you feeling this trauma and this pain? And then let's sit with it, and then let's release it. But nature abhors a vacuum, so we have to fill it. Once you release the negative, we got to fill it with the good stuff, the becoming. And so I do three rounds, multiple times each round. And the first round really is, okay, what's the big emotion that's coming up? Let's talk about it. All this anxiety, I'm feeling it in my chest. My chest is heavy. It's getting tight. I don't want to feel this way. And then we release it. I'm choosing to let it go. What would my life look like if I don't have it here? And then we fill it with the good stuff. I'm strong. I am courageous. I can do big, powerful things. I don't have to hide my true, authentic self. I can show up. I'm vigorous in all of the meanings of vigorous. And so we go through that, and it is very powerful, because, one thing that so many people, I hear this so often: time heals. Time does not heal.
Ooh.
Especially when you are in a toxic relationship. Time does not heal. If you do nothing today and you are just waiting for time to heal you, in 5 years, you will still be saying, but time heals, but I'm in the same place. And so you have to actually do the work. And the EFT is one of the ways to do the work, to get the trauma out, to acknowledge the emotions, and to rewire your brain, to put in the new stuff. Because when you leave these relationships, it is as if you've been brainwashed. It is as if you have left an occult. And so you really have to rewire your thoughts.
I love this, because this is techie for everyone to understand. If you're listening range of this podcast, this is so basically easy. Like you're taking on your kind of let's see, how do we word this? We would release some things in order to gain some things. And I think that is incredibly important in our field specifically, because we take on a lot. We're taking on other people's trauma. We're taking on other people's anxiety, and we're having to formulate that into some sort of scientific cognition so that we can make the results for other people happen. Let alone our own traumas, let alone our own anxieties, let alone our own weight that we carry, or or shame, or anything along those lines. The credibility to just be in the room amongst other brilliant, smart minds. Things along those lines are things we walk away from when we start having those type of feelings. And having you explain it in this way, that we don't have to be in that, we can actually release that, and we can actually fill it in with something else that's more positive or uplifting or higher than that. I think that is incredibly insightful, because there's so many of us that choose to just continue to walk with the weight. And I think for especially me, guilty women.
Well, think about it.
Go right ahead.
Well, I was going to add, like, I like what we release to receive. And if you think about your life, and especially as a mom with children, and your children always wanting things, so you're buying things. But if you keep bringing stuff in, you're going to be a hoarder. You're not going to have the space to receive the good stuff. You know, look at your closet. How many of us, we have way too much stuff in our closet, and yet we still are buying things and we're shoving it in. And so we have to discard. We have to release the stuff. We have to release things we don't wear, things we know we're never going to be back to a size 4 again. We just admit it, get rid of those jeans. They're never going to fit. You're never going to wear them. So stop packing them. And then you can get the new stuff. And it's similar with trauma and with big, heavy emotions. Why do we just keep packing it on, and packing it on? And then we just become so full of all this trauma, and we can't receive any of the good stuff because we can't see it and we have no space for it.
Right.
You got to get it out.
Absolutely. There's a song, there's a hip hop song that I love referring to in this, The Bag Lady from Erykah Badu. That's one of my favorites. And she talks about how you just gotta, you're not gonna make the bus. You're not gonna be able, you got too much stuff. You can't move because you got too much stuff. And it's really a deeper analogy to that baggage that we hold on to. As proud women, as minorities, we walk into these spaces with extra. And that's the extra we don't want, right? Like the extra we don't need. So it's just kind of, nope, I don't have hot sauce in my bag this time. I'm just freebirding with this wallet. That's it. Things along those lines are the things I think of when we talk about, releasing things to receive things. So that's a beautiful analogy. I really love that. Is there any other like basic tips in and around EFT that you feel like is very helpful to people who are very new to this practice?
Yeah, everything is based on our belief system. If we go into something believing that, oh, this isn't going to work. I know I've had this trauma forever. I'm never going to get rid of it. It's just a part of me, but okay, I will try this. Well, your belief system is already that it's not going to work. So the first thing you have to do is come in with an open mind. Because if you come in with a closed mind, anything that doesn't fit your belief system, you're automatically going to reject, and it's not going to work. And so come in with an open mind. And you also have to come in knowing that it might have taken you years of putting on this trauma, of putting on this trauma suit, this trauma skin. If we go back to the skins, you've spent a lot of time really creating this trauma suit that you wear. And so know that it's not going to be this quick fix, but with the right mindset and mentality and going in with the open mind and being consistent and being persistent with it, you will experience change. You will become the new person that you desire to be.
Oh, I love this answer. Are y'all ever taking notes? Because I am. This is absolutely wonderful. I love the transformation, even in talking about what is to what can be. Just the level of transformation from the start of this episode has just went from 0 to 80. It was so wonderful because I do feel like more people need to hear that this is a possibility. More people need to hear that they don't have to sit with a lot of things that they're sitting with. There's other options. There's other ways for you to transform your life. And I'm really, truly just mesmerized and empowered and inspired by you and your story today, Stephany. And thank you. I want to hear more about your personal self-care. So we talk about us being moms and boy moms at that, which I absolutely love. I would love to hear, what are you doing for self-care? I mean, besides EFT.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that one of my very best friends is a therapist. And so she is my go-to that I can process things and talk about things with. I don't have to wait and get all these appointments. So I am blessed to have her in my corner.
That is
Secondly,
awesome.
I try to do massages. I have had some knots, and I mean, You get it. I'm a solo parent, which means there's no ex-husbands in my life. And so, and I have 3 boys. We are very busy. I never say it's hard because being a parent is not hard. It is not difficult. We just live a very full scheduled life right now. And so, I try to go and get massages. I try to do some facials every now and then. I meditate a lot. There's this app called Think Up. I don't know if you know, but I've put in all my affirmations and all kinds of stuff and my goals.
yes.
And I just, even for 5-10 minutes, I can just put my headphones on and just kind of quiet myself. Or I'll shut the door in my bedroom and put on one of those eye masks and my headphones in, even just for 20 minutes. And sometimes my kids will join me. I mean, we do the best we can. But having that like quiet moments throughout the day is like re-energizes and keeps me grounded and centered. That's kind of what I do.
I love this. This is definitely something that I can relate to. I go through several rounds of grounding during the day usually when my kids are at school. So a lot of times I will send myself outside for my own, mental health, just to be feet in the grass, just kind of stay very earthed and grounded to myself. That gets me through a lot of stressful meetings at work or a long meetings for that matter. In between different appointments throughout the day. So I relate to this a lot because I do feel like a lot of people, especially in this particular industry, sometimes getting out is super hard for us to do. We are very comfortable being within our fishbowl, as we kind of call it. So I like to get out of my fishbowl by intentionally being around things that, encourage me, like being outside amongst the fresh air and the green grass. A lot of times I will take a moment to take a nerd break. Maybe it's just a speed watch of an empowering episode of Star Trek or something along those lines. It just kind of gets me through to kind of remind me that I'm human and that I'm okay and that I can still go about my day knowing who I am and what things inspire and muse me to keep going. So I love your personal self-care tips. Is there any books or any type of products or services that you also like besides Think Up? Think Up's amazing.
Yes. So I do love Think Up because when we speak in our own voice, and I know so many of us, especially in the podcasting world, we just have to get used to hearing our voice, and that can take a bit. But our subconscious mind is so much more receptive to our own voice, and so if you can get anything that you are trying to put deep into your subconscious, have your own voice, speak it, and then listen to it, because after a while you do get used to your voice and it's not all weird. In the beginning I was like, it sounds like my sister, not me. It's me. I actually have a giant stack of emotional support books, is what I call them. And they're just in the corner of my room. And when I am feeling like I just need something, I'll kind of do that. Okay, God, Spirit, guide, which book? Which book do I need to read? And I've read most of them many times. There are still some emotional support books that I haven't even read yet because, that's what they're there for. They're waiting until they're called upon.
Yes.
And so I actually picked a book up last week because I was just feeling really lonely. And many of us solo and single parents and even people in relationships, especially if you're in toxic relationships, you can be surrounded by a lot of people, but you still feel lonely. And so I was just starting to get really emotionally involved with feeling lonely, and I didn't like that I was becoming emotionally involved with feeling lonely.
Right.
And I was just led to a book that I hadn't read before. And there was a whole chapter on loneliness, and like, don't get caught up in that becoming emotionally involved with that, because then we create more of that in our life, right? Whatever we focus on grows. And so if I sit here and say, I'm so lonely, no one's my friend, no one wants to hang out with me, it sucks being a solo mom, blah, 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 I'm going to brain eventually start calling that into my world. And so I picked up that book and it was like, oh God, I had already spent 4 days being like, I have no friends, and like, it's like, no, Stephany, you don't. You have a lot of friends. You have a lot of people in your world, a lot of people who care about you. Yeah, they might not be physically sitting right next to you all the time, but like, and spirit is always with us. And so it's like, no, you're not lonely. Let go of that and start thinking of all the beautiful, wonderful, empowered women that you are friends with. Call that into your life, not the loneliness.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love this so much.
Oh, yeah. I hope part of my self-care is the giant stack of emotional support books.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love this. This is the type of support and wisdom that we hope that we can continue to pass on to other amazing women who are making their name in the sand, that are marking their labels that are out there in the world, coming up the ranks in this industry. We want to give them support. We want to give them resources where they can also grow and learn from. So hearing emotional support books is definitely on our checklist.
Yeah, because you never know when you're going to need one. So you got to keep it with you at all times. So,
absolutely.
I nerd out too, just in a different way.
Yes. I love this. Okay. And I have to ask, what did you want to be growing up? And does it reflect what you do now?
So that's a great question. So for the majority of my young life, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I loved animals. I loved helping them, being with them. And this is how nerdy I was. I actually had a shirt that was a veterinarian jacket, and it had like a puppy and a kitty in one pocket, and like, a stethoscope. And on the back, my mom wrote in like puffy paint, veterinarian in training. And I seriously wore that shirt every day. I remember in like 4th and 5th grade. And I have my school pictures are taken in that shirt. Yeah.
That is awesome. Like, this warms my heart down.
So the empathy, I've always been a very caring, empathetic person. And I always wanted to make a difference in the world. And so as I got older, it kind of was less on the veterinarian stuff, but how could I really create change? And so I studied global politics and economics, and then went to law school. And my plan was to, let's the next Mother Teresa right here. And then I, got into 2 toxic marriages that took up the majority of 20 years. And now that I've walked through all of that, it's like, okay, I can see where I am doing what I wanted to do in some ways, because I am creating change. I am a disruptor. I am here to make you feel uncomfortable and to bring out those convictions, because if you are in these relationships, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't get out.
This is so impactful. And I think, if honestly, and I'm pretty sure we can say, Teresa's probably real proud right now. This is one of those situations where, when we see ourselves in other powerful muses for ourselves, we see that reflected throughout our lives, whether we chose that original profession or we chose something completely different. So we always ask this question in our interviews because we do feel like it's reflective of your overall journey. The things that you begin with not are always the final product, but the little parts and the little particles that are left behind, those deeper pieces, they carry throughout our lives, throughout the things that we choose to do. So I love the transformation again from one point to another, showcased in the interview today, and all of the things that you have shared with us. Is there anything additional that you would like to add or share?
Well, yeah, just to kind of go along with what you were saying there,
Yes.
another thing is too, I won the governor's award for my work in domestic violence 20 years ago.
Wow.
And then I was in the abusive marriages. But I did not know I was being abused, because 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I was working in domestic violence, we were focused on physical violence. So what happens when you are in emotionally and psychologically abusive relationships, that it is so subtle, the gaslighting is so subtle, that you don't see it until you are so caught up in it. And so for me, it's like, okay, yes, I won these awards. I did all this stuff. And now I'm finally using all of that stuff. And going back to the beginning of the for me and the victim, you can always find empowerment, and you can always find the for me and the why me. So now, as an advocate, and now as a speaker, and now as someone, I can look at my two ex-husbands and say, okay, I've forgiven them. I've had compassion for them. I've released them. You got to release to receive.
Right.
They've been released. But, I can say thank you, because not thank you that I had to go through it, but the for me in there is that they have launched my career in ways that I didn't think were ever possible. And then to come back to where, hey, you won that award 20 years ago, Stephany. That's where your work was in the beginning. And now it's come full circle. Now I've lived that trauma and that experience. And so I understand it as a professional, but also on a personal level.
That is absolutely beautiful. Wow. I can't wait to re-listen to this part because I'm just like, wow, that's so deep in revelating for so many people who may or may not know, understand, or even, I dare say, appreciate, the mental transformation that comes from releasing and receiving the level of trauma that goes through this particular cycle and area. And I like I said, I've not experienced these things personally, but I always appreciate the process. And I feel like that is the bigger picture that I want to paint here through this particular situation, especially for people who are in places they feel like they're being processed, and taking that in a more aerial perspective and looking at the overall process and picking and choosing the areas we want to apply ourselves. And so I know in this particular case, it is not that way at all. But I do appreciate all of the levels of transformation that you personally have had to go through to be able to get to a point to look back at all the things that you went through and say, you know what? Okay. Yes. Thank you. As you mentioned before, that's huge. There's so many women out there who would love to get to this level of acceptance and grace in a lot of areas in and around the spaces of tech and creativity. But it takes time. Like you said, it takes time, but also takes work, doing the work. And this is something that our podcast sister, Cicely, talks about repeatedly, doing the work. Yeah.
Yes, you got to do the work if you want the result.
Man, we got work to do, ladies. I love it. I love it. All right.
We're always a work in progress, right?
Yes, always a work in progress. We're always rendering, right? The next thing. I absolutely love this conversation. I want to kind of end it on a high note. We usually do a flash questionnaire that we ask all of our guests at the end of the podcast. Before we get started, for people who want to know more about your journey seeking you out, how can they do that?
Yeah, so right now I'm just on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm working on a website and I'm writing a series of books right now. So follow me on either of those platforms to hear all the good stuff that's going to be unveiled in the next couple months.
I am excited for you. I can't wait to share this in the show notes.
Me too.
Yes. All right. Are you ready for this flash questionnaire?
Let's do it. Yes.
All right. Question 1. If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be and what would your superhero name?
Oh, wow. Okay. I feel like I'm playing Would You Rather with my children. Mom. Well, I've always liked Wonder Woman, so I would be some version of Wonder Woman. Super powerful. Has a whole bunch of different hats. Nerdy, but super hot. The whole combo. Wonder Woman, and my superpower would be. Well, I always thought it would be fun to fly. So I always, kind of throw that one out when I'm being asked this with my kids. So yes, I would probably just be Wonder Woman.
I love it. All right. Okay. And maybe a superhero name?
Oh, yeah. It would be, I'm going to go with the word of the episode. My name would be Vigorina.
Ooh. Well, bless. Okay. Yes. I love it. That was awesome. Oh my gosh. So you nailed that. 100 points to Gryffindor. That was amazing. I love it. Okay. What's your go-to karaoke song? And if you dare, give us a quick rendition.
Oh gosh. My go-to karaoke song. I'm not a big karaoke person, but I'm more of like the impromptu dance party.
Okay.
So, the only thing that's popping into my head right now is Fiesta. Fiesta.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Right? I can see it.
Fiesta. So I used to live with a bunch of Brazilian girls. And so, samba all the time and Fiesta.
Yes. Samba. That is perfect. Okay, so you and I need to go dancing. Okay, that's what it is.
Okay. Oh, let's go. Self-care weekend.
Yes. Okay, so if you had to survive a zombie apocalypse, which 3 items would you grab from your home before making a run for it?
I would grab a katana. And yes, I do have one at my house because, from The Walking Dead, I'm going to be Michonne.
Yes.
I'm going to savor everything. So I'm grabbing a katana and my glasses so I can see.
Yes.
And one more thing. Honestly, I'd probably grab one of my emotional support books and just throw it in my backpack because the backpack's already on me. So that doesn't count.
Oh my gosh.
But definitely I'd be like savoring heads.
Yes. And then you need the emotional support of the books thereafter. Yes, for all the things.
Well, yeah. Because I'm not like a narcissist or a sociopath that can just savor heads easily. I might, have to be like.
I love this. Wow. I wasn't ready for that one. That was great. Okay. Can you share an embarrassing moment from your past that you can laugh about now?
Oh my gosh. You have no idea. I have so many. So I have been very blessed. I've traveled around the world many times. And so I always say there's that like cultural faux pas stuff, which is the most embarrassing. But I was living in Nicaragua, and I was 19 years old teaching in a school down there. And I went with a Peace Corps friend to go out to the islands, and she was doing like medical stuff. And so we'd been on one of these tiny little boats that's called a panga, which is basically a hollowed out log with a motor. And so we went to this one little island, and I had to go to the bathroom so bad. Like I just was about ready to pee my pants.
Oh no.
And so we get to the island, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to go to the bathroom. And there was like literally one bathroom on the whole island. And it was a catwalk all the way out into the ocean and only a 3-sided outhouse. Yeah, 3 sides. I'm this little white girl and this little island, and everyone was curious about me. And so everyone wanted to come out and meet me. And I had to go to the bathroom. There's no door. There's only 3 sides, and like there wasn't even a toilet seat. There's a hole in a piece of plywood that drops into the ocean. And so the whole community is there watching me. And, so I have my friends stand in front of me to act as a door. And I pull my pants down. I mean, even that, and then stage fright hit. I couldn't go. And now I'm just sitting there, and the whole community is just watching me sit on the toilet with my pants down. And it was such a waste because I couldn't go.
Oh.
Have you had a whole community on an island come out to watch you go to the bathroom?
Wow.
And
wow.
So then like, well, maybe if you walk around the village and kind of talk to some of the people, maybe you will become more comfortable. So we go walk around, and I'm almost in tears because I have to go to the bathroom so bad. And so then we walk around for like 20 minutes, and I'm saying hi and all this stuff, and I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. So then I go and I do it again, and nothing comes out again. And everyone is still watching me.
Hopefully you made
it. That was horrible.
Emily.
I got back in the boat, and I think I just peed in the boat or something. I don't even know. I was like...
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that you can laugh about it now, but my goodness, that bladder, I mean, it went through some emotions.
It was painful. It was painful all around.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so if you could have dinner with any historical figure, dead or alive, who would it be, and what's the one burning question you would ask them?
Who would I have dinner with? I would have dinner with Napoleon Hill. I've read his books several times. There's a lot of things I just like to talk to him and ask him. I mean, he interviewed like 500,000 of the most successful, wealthiest people, and wrote his book. So I'd kind of like to hang out with him for a little bit.
Heck yeah, find out all those secrets.
Yeah, right? So I don't know specifically what I would ask him, but I know we would have great conversation.
Absolutely. Put some bourbon on that. That would make it even top of the top right there.
Yes.
I love that. I would need like a summary report. Like out of everyone that you interviewed, I need to know the top 80% of things that were repeated more than 5 times. Like so you can get like a little bullet point list of things to do or not to do. That's cool.
Exactly.
Okay, last question. What's the weirdest or most unexpected thing on your bucket list, and why is it there?
The weirdest or most unexpected thing on a bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there is this restaurant in, I think it's Denmark, and all they do is like weird fermented foods.
Ooh.
And some things I'm just really curious. And So I want to go to this restaurant and I want to sit there and eat a whole bunch of really weird, probably nasty things, but like souped up. Yeah, it's called. I can't remember the name of it. I had one of their books. And just reading through it, like just the strange things that they ferment and stuff.
Wow.
So I'd like to go sit in that restaurant and eat weird things.
We know we're gonna Google this.
You
We're
want to
gonna
come
find
with
it.
me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gone. Yes. I am so down. I am so down for any trip to Denmark, but I'm also down to try all these fermented foods. I'm for the weird things. So like I can take care of like chocolate covered ants and things. I can handle that. But I'm curious to know what fermented things, how far that rabbit hole goes.
I know.
Well, congratulations. You completely answered all of our questionnaire questions. You passed. So, all the things. I really, really appreciate the conversation we were able to have today around this interview, around the word vigorous. And I'm hoping that more minorities, more women, more people in the tech and creative industries are really mustering their own vigor, if you will. So if there's things that you have questions about on this episode, we want to hear them in the comments. Pour them in there. You're also welcome to DM us directly on social media. We just want to encourage and support other people in the space. So from all of us to each of you, we want to remind you that you are more than graphics, and we hope that this space continues to ignite your next ... All right, we'll catch you next time.
And just like that, the episode ends, but the convo has just begun.
Thanks for listening to the MTG podcast.
We want to hear from you. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it a review on your listening app of choice.
Continue to follow us across MTG socials.
And look out for bonus content releases throughout the year. This podcast is produced by Octane Design Studios.
Until next time, friend.